One take. We'll see how tonight goes.
I'm not betting on it. Let's see. I'll bet you $5 you fuck up the first one.
I'm not going to make that bet because I'm not confident enough in myself.
I'm the oldest Sam.
I'm Hunter Davis.
I'm Zach Sandler.
I'm Jay Moore's son.
Andrew Anderson.
And you are listening to the Local Sounds.
You're listening to the Local Sounds
And you are
Podcast.
listening to the Local Sounds
And you're listening to
Podcast.
the Local Sounds
And you're listening to
Podcast.
the Local Sounds Podcast
With my friend Taylor Davis.
my friend Taylor Davis.
My friend, Taylor Davis.
My good friend, Taylor Davis.
My friend Taylor Davis.
Good evening, listeners out there. Welcome once again. We're back with the Local Sounds Podcast, Week 3. We are delighted to have all of you back with us for another installment of this limited edition series. Tonight we are in South Miami at our guest home named the Jungle House, and we're on to Week 3 of this limited edition podcast, Season 2 of Local Sounds. So far, we've interviewed 2 guests, the great David Rotella from Light of Day, Canada, underground Miami comic Jack Norris, and today we add a local Miami legend to that mix. But first, as always, some music. We are 17 days away from the release of my new studio record, the first one in the last 2 years. It's called At Night in the Dark. So far, the audience has heard on this podcast the last 2 singles, Cold in July and Gone. This week, we'll be talking a little bit about the first single, which I wrote a year and a half ago, and we're going to be playing it for you today. The Devils Are Here was the beginning of my brand new record. The song came quite fast. Sitting at home on my couch after watching Chris Mullins and the Mojo Hands the night before at Lincoln's Beard Brewing Company in Westchester. Chris's band is one of the premier underground blues bands, in my opinion, here in Miami, and the first person I met when I came to Miami as well. Before that time, I wasn't a huge listener to the roots Americana, American blues music, but that all changed very rapidly, partly because of my guest today. Artists in Miami such as Lone Wolf, One Man Band, Matchstick Johnny, the Mojo Hands, and our guest today, they got me thinking about how I could come up with my own blues song with a twist. So one day I was sitting around strumming along, and all of a sudden there was 3 chords that just felt right that I've never played really before. In my notebook of starter lines, I'd written down the month previous this line: when the lights go out and the fire falls, we are not alone. That's how the song would start. Before I knew it, in an hour, I had a song that had poured out of me, a song that I had no idea the topic when I started, and ended up being a personal anthem against mental health, a topic that soon later would become the center focus of my new record. The Devils Are Here is about how we protect ourselves from ourselves. Every night when I was a kid, I'd watch my father. He'd lock the doors before we all went to bed. And that was probably, when I look back on it, one of my earliest signs of security and manhood. This is something you do to protect yourself and your family. Now, being, 27, almost 28 years old and having a family of my own, that importance has never been so important to me. But if this is the way of keeping you safe from the outside enemies, how do you keep yourself safe when the devils in your life appear in your head? How do you protect your mind when these things do what they do best, overtake you? Where do you find the lock to keep these spirits out? The answer is I still don't know. But I do know that these songs, these conversations about mental health help me to understand a little more how to handle my own situations. How much of this was I thinking about when I wrote the song? None of it. How much of it was I feeling? All of it.
When the lights go out and the fire falls, we are not alone. The dark clouds struck us down in the middle of the storm. The black dog moans. I wasn't wishing and hoping and praying for peace. The ceasefire never ceases, please. Hold my hand as I weep. I've been stuck inside now for weeks, crawling and scratching fingernails on the wall. Am I in it all? Am I in it at all? No voices in the air, ain't nobody to call. So if you find me in the wilderness, please bring me back home. The sinners on the hell, cause the devils are here. The devils are here. Hear no no evil, see no evil when you whisper in my ear. The devil's are here. The devil's are here. You never see him coming, you just feel him and you know. You just feel him and you know. The devil's are here. If I don't check myself, I might wreck myself. It's too soon to say. My prayers don't get where they're going sometimes. I'm just in the way. There's no fairy tale in this mental hell. I'm a broken well. I might be too late to save, too late to face. When it's in the room, you just don't feel the same. It just knows you by name. Can't go back from the home where we came. Prison and shame. I might just die in these flames. I might just die in these flames. The sinners on the hell cause the devils are here. The devils are here. Hear no evil, see no evil when you whisper in my ear. The devils are here. The devils are here. You never see him coming, you just feel him and you know. You just feel him and you know. The devils are here. See no evil when you whisper in my ear. The devils are here. The devils are here. You never see him coming, you just feel him and you know. You just feel him and you know. The devils are here.
We are back, Local Sounds podcast. That was The Devils Are Here off my upcoming record, A Night in the Dark, dropping 17 days from right now. Make sure you save it in your calendars. But now it's on to our very special guest of the night. We're out of the studio tonight and we're in South Miami at a home called the Jungle House. We're with somebody that I consider a real Miami legend in music and curating. I spent 3 years in Miami meeting, performing, and socializing with artists of all different types. And just like anywhere, the title of legend should not be so easily thrown around. Those of you that use that word, including myself, should have rightfully deserved that title when you relate it to people. And this next man has certainly, in my eyes, done that over the last 25 years in Miami. My earliest memory of meeting today's guest was at a one-man band show at Churchill's alongside the great Matchstick Johnny and the great Lone Wolf. It was at Churchill's, like I said, and Churchill's is a place that has come up quite a few times in the last few weeks on this podcast. Now, the concept of the one-man band was something I had never seen or heard until I moved to the city. A guy sitting behind the drum set, playing the drums while playing the guitar and playing the harmonica and singing and trying to do all this shit at one time well. I was fascinated by these guys. Not only their playing, but the roots of Mississippi blues in their tone and the voice and the authenticity that they brought to the original music. I was having a difficult enough time myself trying to play harmonica well enough with the guitar. This guy, though, was playing well, singing well. He was all over the neck, playing an unbelievable harmonica. And it was just an amazing experience. I don't think I had the courage that night to speak to him until a few weeks later. We chatted on social media about the show. He was very kind. I took a lot from the conversation and tried to use it in my own music. Since that time, we've shared the stage only once at the beginning of this year at So Far Sound Show at the Adrian Arts Center downtown. And what a night, especially if we knew what was coming for us in 2020. And for me, what an honor to share a bill with this guy. For me, it was really a litmus test of my growth in Miami, and it made me feel good. I knew I was doing something good if all roads had led to sharing a bill with this guy. Eric Garcia, or as most on the scene know him as Uncle Scotchy, not only does his one-man band show, but is also the frontman of a great band called Juke that is open for big name acts all over Miami. He's the former curator of the notorious Wynwood Yard, and he's currently curating one of the hottest new shows in Miami during COVID at the great Bar Nancy in Calle Ocho on 8th Street called Uncle Scotchy's Storytelling Extravaganza, a show I've grown I've seen grown exponentially over the last few months and been lucky to be a part of. It involves people that have great stories, comedians, musicians, folks of all different walks of life and backgrounds. Ladies and gentlemen, after that long intro, without further ado, I'm honored to welcome to the Local Sounds podcast my good friend, the very talented Eric Garcia. There you go, my brother.
That's quite an intro, yeah.
I told you I wrote a lot,
Hey, you did.
We got Eric
I got
Garcia.
a lot to live up to here.
Yeah, well, I think you'll do just fine. We're here with the great Eric Garcia here in South Miami. Eric, thanks for having us into your home, first and foremost. Second of all, I'm glad that your dog didn't chew my leg off. She's very sweet. So
Very sweet.
very sweet.
Too sweet.
Casey is here. We did a virtual online show that Eric put together that I was lucky to be a part of, taking care of a surgery that Casey had. And then we were just talking outside about after the surgery, you spent 8 weeks with the dog, making sure that she was nursed back to health, didn't do too much activity.
Yep. 2-year-old pit bull that likes to party and have a good time, and she wasn't allowed to run for 8 weeks. So I had to just chill with her. And that's actually what got me into the storytelling. A friend of mine suggested that I do basically what's called a blues opera, and that would be stories about my life intersecting with like a rock opera, but intersecting with my music. And then I'm like, well, I've never really, as much as I've been on stage, I've never really just spoke other than tip your bartenders and this song is this and this guy played this solo. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta just talk. And somebody turned me on to The Moth. It's a storytelling network since 1997. They have a podcast. And I just blazed through the whole fucking thing.
Wow.
And that's what really got me into the whole storytelling. Basically, because of just sitting around with her, I just got laid off. COVID happened. It was total quarantine time. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And how much fucking music can you listen to? You get music out. Yeah. So
Even the musicians got tired of listening to music.
Yeah, really. Sometimes like when you leave a gig, you just want to hear maybe just some talking, some comedy, or nothing. And especially when you're driving long distances. And I'm like, oh shit, stories, they're crafted like songs.
Yeah.
It's the same, like good storytellers, there's a thing to it. And I became addicted to it. And so it's kind of cool that Barnancy gave me the outlet. I used to work with Ben and Sasha, the owners, at the stage back in the day. And I think if I just came to them as just some guy that says I want to do storytelling on Wednesday, Ben was like, yeah, I don't really think that's cool, but I just give you a shot. And now it's like his favorite night. And it's cool.
It's been great, man. It's been great. I was, thinking to myself when I first saw the night that you were doing, I was thinking that, man, a storytelling night, what a great idea. And it's on a Wednesday night after COVID. How's it going to be received? And man, the way the audience has come out and supported, I feel like, especially like last night, was crazy.
Yeah.
Great audience all the time, and they're enthusiastic, sometimes a little too loud, but enthusiastic about the whole thing. Yeah, you do, for sure. For sure. I love that. You and Sergio last night were like the highlight of everything, keeping everybody from getting too crazy. But
Susie did well. Susie did well in a very more feminine, she just kind of upped her
polite.
volume. She's a,
less
she's
rock
an
and
actress.
roll.
She's an actress, so
Yeah.
she just played it with like feminine charm. That's how she won everybody over. She got everybody to shut up.
Yeah.
They were talking a lot in the beginning. I was proud of her. She didn't even blink. And yeah,
She did a great job because me and Sergio were talking, and he said, I told him, I said, she's an elegant, lady for sure, and she did a good job of keeping in her tone to,
she
get
did.
the audience
She stayed
down.
sweet.
Now, we talked a lot about your history in Miami in the early parts of the show when I was introducing you. Your earliest music memory in Miami, what was the first show you remember playing, or were you curating first, or were you going to the open mics? Or
Man, I kind of came into it late. I didn't really get into. I started playing harmonica. I was 17. I went to school at University of California, Santa Cruz.
Okay.
I'm a banana slug.
I knew you lived in California for a little
Yeah.
bit.
Well, I lived in San Diego, which is totally different later on. But I went to college when I was 17 in Santa Cruz.
Okay.
And my roommate at the time, he kind of hated me. And this big black rugby player, and he got me into rugby. Actually, I wanted to play in rugby. I lost my tennis scholarship because I joined the rugby team and quit tennis.
Okay.
Which is horrible. I was actually I had a tennis scholarship. You wouldn't think Uncle Scotchy would be that, but yeah.
I don't know too much about tennis, so I have no
Yeah,
preconceived
but
things.
yeah, you wouldn't think Uncle Scotchy would make his living teaching tennis though.
Okay, maybe
Little
not.
shorts and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Scotchy shorts.
Okay, fair enough.
And he put on. He had a record player. And he put on Hard Again. He didn't like me because I was just always on acid. I was always fucked up. And he put on. I was just tripping on acid one day. He put on Hard Again, the album by Muddy Waters.
Okay.
I was like, "What the fuck is that?" He's like, "What?" I'm like, "That." Like, because James Cotton would just blaze the harp. It wasn't even his solos. It was the melodies that he was playing. He was just playing this hard shit. And I've never heard harmonica like that. Harmonica for me was Sesame Street.
Yeah.
You know, I remember they had a sweet harmonica player, whoever played for Sesame Street. But yeah, that was like that pretty little country harp. And then I heard this dirty ass shit. I'm like, I want to do that. And it changed everything for me. So I obviously lost my scholarship. I had to come back when I was 18. And then my earliest memories was basically I used to go to the Tiger Tail Lounge that was in the Grove. It was this fucking shithole. I used to go every Tuesday with my buddy, even though we were underage. I listened, didn't give a fuck. And this band called the Fleet Starbuck Blues Band would play there.
Okay.
And Fleet was from Texas. He used to play with Jimmy Vaughn and people like that. He was like legit blues dude. And he knew all the songs. And everybody there was just like dock rats and drunks. And it was like me and my buddy.
How old are you at this time?
19.
Okay.
18, 19. And we had to go every week. And I'd just wake up next day smelling like just cigarettes and booze. And,
Oh, yeah.
and then
exactly
Fleet gave me a lesson, huh?
I know exactly what you're talking
Exactly,
about.
like in your, but it's not even this. There's another unidentifiable fucking smell on your shit.
Yeah.
It's like the Tiger Tail. You smell like the Tiger Tail Lounge.
Yeah.
Which is gnarly. There's like a
You
drunk.
smell like
mold.
you've been out.
Yeah, no. It smells like it's been at the bottom.
Okay, yeah, at the
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah. You fucking put your fucking toe in the fucking.
Most of the
water
times
at
I
the
go out,
bottom.
it's at places that would be considered at the bottom.
Yeah, it really was.
For sure.
I had no business there. But then he gave me my first harmonica lesson, and then I just fucking lost my mind after that. And I was living with my first girlfriend at the time, and I played all. I just had it in my mouth. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was always playing with it. I slept with it, and she had a rule that I couldn't play harmonica when she was home in the house.
Okay.
And we used to argue. I'd be like, one day I'm going to play on a stage in front of people, and they're going to pay me.
And she's like, yeah,
She
sure.
goes, never.
Never. She wasn't very encouraging.
No, she was the opposite. Yeah. And so that was kind of the first. I used to play some bass like in high school with a buddy of mine, but it was like metal shit. And and then I wound up moving to. I didn't really come into my own as a musician, and so I moved to California. And then I told this on one of my
So
stores.
how long was that after you were 18 having this first harmonica
So
experience?
then I moved when I was 24 to California. Up until then, I was just like really into strict blues, which I don't really like anymore. I'm kind of like, I kind of hate blues in a weird way.
Okay.
Like, traditional blues I have a problem with.
That's weird for me to hear from you, for sure.
Yeah, I have a problem with a lot of traditional blues. It's just, it hasn't evolved, and it's got that whole shtick, like that buddy guy, oh Lord, this and that shit. It's just
Yeah.
like not evolving,
Yeah.
And, people get mad at me when I use the term, but I call it Uncle Tom blues.
Yeah.
It really is. They're pandering to that fucking whole time that was horrible.
Yeah,
And
you can tell when you hear pandering, I think, for sure.
Exactly, and I don't play fucking Street Home Chicago and stuff like that, So, but at the time, I was really just absorbing the blues as much as I could, and just sitting in with everybody I could, and going to Tobacco Road and watching Iko Iko, and then when I was 24, I was getting pretty proficient, and then I moved to California, and I wound up being roommates with the frontman guitar player of the top band in town, and they were just a really progressive, ridiculous band.
Yeah.
And even me sitting with them, they were way out of my league, but it really helped me expand.
Grow,
They used to laugh at my blues loyalties,
Yeah.
They used to, they made fun of it, I had this album Tiger Man by Kim Wilson. They called me Tiger Man for a while and fucked around.
It seems like a proper nickname for you. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like it doesn't fit. Doesn't seem too out of the margins,
I lost my stripes a while ago, but what happened was I was getting good at harp, which is fine, and then I actually wound up getting into my first band. It was called the Lisa Diaz Band. They played like 4 or 5 nights a week. It was crazy, and I was getting paid just to play harmonica, which is great. but the band was a dysfunctional family, and I got into a motorcycle accident. And I broke both my legs.
Wow.
And at the time, I was living right on the boardwalk on the second floor, but my one roommate was on tour, that guy, and then the other one, he was a bank robber. He had robbed a bank.
Okay.
And he
makes for a great song.
what he would do is he was a junkie. There was a bunch of junkies living with me. It was all junkies, and he would take the money that he made from the bank robbery. He would go to Mexico for 3 months, like Oaxaca, and just surf and do drugs and shit like that. And
Burn
so,
through
but
it.
there was nobody there. So I'm there in this house, and I had a girlfriend at the time who actually was a professional tennis player.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this beautiful Irish girl named Julie McEwen.
Okay.
Jet black hair and crystal blue
picturing
eyes.
her right now.
Crystal blue eyes, yeah. And she was supposed to come back from the tour the week that I got into my wreck. So she calls me. I tell her, oh, fucking Julie, baby, can't wait for you to come back. You know, this is what happened. There's no furniture here. Everything's gone. I'm on a skateboard on my ass with this fucking house with 2 broken legs. She's like, I met somebody in Spain and I'm not coming back.
Wow.
And so I had just like
You were destined for a music career.
rock
I feel
bottom.
like.
I know, and I just had all these pills that they gave me, and I'm like, I don't want to go that route. And I knew the whole network of surfers and skaters around there. They used to come up and down the stairs, and I used to just trade pills for food and weed. And all I did was just sit in my wheelchair for fucking months and just play harmonica. Just like that's when I
Man,
got. That's
to
when I
leave you
took
when
the
you're in
next
a
level.
wheelchair really takes, takes
Yeah.
things to the next level for
Yeah,
sure.
you learn
Wow.
about little things in life that are hard, and then you just sitting there. And this is like kind of, I guess this is like late '90s, kind of pre-internet. So I couldn't fuck around on my phone, man. I was just playing harmonica, and I would just go down to the boardwalk, and I'd just sit there, and I dressed real nice for some reason during that time. I'd wear like my dad's
Did
nicest
you have a tip jar?
Guayabera.
Did you have like a hat for? A
No,
tip
no,
jar?
no. I didn't want. I was just doing it to do it. I was like not even about that. And I had a tip jar only when a couple years earlier I was in the Army, and after I got out of the Army, I would go in the streets of Santa Cruz actually because I was stationed in Fort Ord, Monterey. That's the only time I started doing like tip jars and shit like that. That's a whole different fucking story.
Yes.
But
I know.
anyway, but that's
we
when
could
I,
have a 4-hour podcast with all your stories for sure.
yeah, but anyway, long story short, that's when I really started getting good at harmonica. I never wanted to sing. I never had aspirations to sing or play any other fucking instruments or anything like that.
So that stuff came along
Way
further
later.
when you were creating like your own narrative of Uncle Scotchy.
No, Uncle Scotchy didn't come out for a while. I moved back to Miami in '02, and then I joined a band called King Bee that was a really good band, very kind of progressive Black Crowes style band, and they were doing really well. But then they started going kind of Beatles vibe, and it was kind of wasn't for me, and I had my own ideas, and I used to hang out at the Blues Jam at Titanic all the time. And I wound up meeting a lot of young musicians from the Frost Music School.
Okay.
And it was a lot of like discarded musicians that were like, they like the blues, but they're like, this is like ninja musical training at Frost, and they fucking look down on blues, and you got to play these jazz chops perfect and stuff like that. But these guys, it was like Ralph Macchio and Crossroads, he was doing
Okay, yeah.
all that shit, but then his, this is primitive music, don't play it. But these guys liked it. And I wound up meeting these guys, and this one guy, Eric Broberg, and I really hit it off. And that's when I kind of started the whole juke thing, and that's how the song had become a front man. And later on, I was booking Bougainvilleas,
Yeah.
and everybody was mad at me, all the local musicians, because I made a rule of no cover bands, only original music.
Yeah.
And they fucking
Which is difficult for a lot of bands.
And you know what? They do better now when they're open, because they crush it with cover bands. But at the time, a really cool scene started happening. Just like everybody knew, thank you. I don't know what genre is going to be here on any given night, but I know it's going to be good music and original music. And a lot of more Frost musicians came over, and like it became a musicians' hangout for a while, a hub. And and then I brought in a guy named Ben Prestage, who's a one-man band. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
No, I haven't.
Dude, he's the one-man
Still
band
playing
of
around here?
one-man bands, huh?
Okay. Is he still playing around here?
Oh yeah, he plays. Well, he's actually based out of like around Stewart.
Yeah. I just was there a couple days ago.
Yeah, him and his brother John Prestage. But Ben is kind of, it fucking blew me away. He does so much stuff. I had played some one-man band shows with other one-man bands that have like attitude, and they don't like you like looking at how they set up, because everybody sets up their one-man band shit different. That's just
Different,
really
yeah.
cool when we
Their own
hang
way,
out.
yeah.
For your own thing. Just don't be looking at my shit. Ben will just straight up, so what I did, I nailed that to the floorboard
Yeah.
and this and that. He'll
Yeah.
just talk to you all day.
Yeah.
And we used to get fucked up, and he liked the way I play harmonica, and I was inspired to do the one-man band thing, and it was just crazy since then. And then through series over the years of girlfriends that don't like you just playing the kick drum all night and practicing, I'll put it away for a while. I would have to, for like life situations. I never married or had kids, but
Yeah.
when you live with a girl that has to wake up in the morning, she don't want to hear the kick drum at fucking midnight.
And time is, frugal when you had to spread it out. So it's always frugal, but it's even more frugal when you have to spread it out.
I've always felt like I needed more time, because like I was telling you earlier when we were talking out on the deck, man. I've always felt insecure about Uncle Scotchy. I'm very secure about the front man and Juke.
Yeah.
But
I find it hard to believe, because that's where a lot of us young musicians that are, try to create a new scene in the last 3 years, 4 years, got a lot of inspiration from Bruno, from you, from Hugo, from the older guys that were still doing it and doing it well. Matchstick was the only guy that was relatively close to our age that was doing things really well. So yeah, I never would have guessed that. So that was very interesting to hear from you. Puts my own insecurities into perspective.
Oh God, I want to vomit. Before I play Uncle Scotchy, it's fucking crazy. I cancel gigs all the time.
Yeah.
I cancel straight up. I don't want to
So
do
you
it.
just wake up and you're like, I'm not feeling it.
I don't want to do it. I'm not ready. I don't want to do it. I'll cancel. I don't give a fuck. Like Juke, I've never canceled. I canceled twice. It happened to be for the same venue. That was deathly ill. It was Gramps.
Okay.
And that motherfucker took it personal. That was in the beginning, and he's just like, fuck it. Now that we're doing well, that's why we never get booked at Gramp.
Okay.
Adam, fuck. Yeah, he hasn't. Yeah, he's given us another chance since.
Yeah, I've
Gramps.
never been booked there either. So maybe
guy's a fucking
it'll
asshole.
happen. Maybe it'll happen.
Fuck that guy. Maybe it won't happen after this.
Yeah, maybe not.
For me,
that's
you
okay.
have a chance. I still publicly say he's a fucking asshole, so fine.
That's okay. That's all right. That's you say whatever you want on here. I'm gonna ask you one more question, and then I wanted to play something of yours, whatever you'd like me to play, but whether it's a live performance or something like that, I'd like to play.
You got us on? How do you got us on there? Like Spotify or something like that?
Yeah, we can do that for sure.
Okay.
Whatever we give you a couple minutes to think about it. But I wanted to ask you about, so once you started getting in, do you remember music playing a big impact in your life before picking up the harmonica, and that experience that you had was, were your parents playing music on the transistor, or were they?
Yeah, my mom and dad played some piano, and I didn't really take to it. They were really, really into it. It's funny. My mom was a lot more supportive than my pop. My pop kind of always, even he just died a couple years ago, but he was always like Eric's little side thing. He's this old Cuban, so the music is like, he used to call me, you and your mother are the same. You're flunkies. He called me flunky.
Okay.
Yeah, you're into like your little music, and she's in her meditation and stuff like that. He never really took it serious, but he would make me try to like force me to listen to like classical piano pieces. But he was also into cool music, like Aretha Franklin, Sarah Vaughan was his favorite and shit like that. So like old school shit. And then for a while, actually, when I was a kid, I performed in a bunch of like, we would do like Broadway plays and stuff like that. I was doing like The Wiz and P.T. Barnum. And I was like the only guy. It was all girls. So like when I was a little kid, like 13 fucking years old, I'm the only guy, and like I was a Scarecrow in The Wiz. I was P.T. Barnum and shit like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're learning a lot
I was doing
about
Broadway
you tonight.
shit when I was a kid. Yeah.
Wow, that's so that was your earliest influence into entertainment and performance. Wow, that's crazy. So when you started listening to the blues, what was there a couple guys that you talked about Muddy Waters? And I learned about Muddy Waters because of you and because of Bruno and Mullins. Mullins was talking about Muddy Waters a lot for a portion of when he was figuring out the Mojo Hands. Actually, my first gig in Miami was opening for the Mojo Hands at the Beard. And he was talking to me a lot. Even at that time, I played harmonica. We were all sitting on outside at Lincoln's Beard on beer kegs. and we were doing Johnny B. Good, and then he started playing Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf and stuff like that. But that was my really, I was 24, 24. It's like my first introduction.
It's just amazing. I mean, I'm basically around like, well, close to the same age when I got into it. Little Walter was big. The harmonica world is weird. It's kind of, the harmonica is hard. A lot of people can play it. It's hard to play it really well. I wound up listening to a lot of guys that were really good. Harmonica, they're fucking dorks, harmonica players. It's like this Dungeons and Dragons fucking thing of hardcore harmonica players. But I mean, there was a guy named, I got into Satan and Adam, which is like this really cool, it was a one-man band, Mr. Satan. He used to play in Harlem in the 80s.
Okay.
He was like a half homeless dude. Sterling McGee was his real name. And he used to play in the streets of Harlem, but he was like the king of the street musicians in Harlem. And then there's this little white kid that went to fucking college there and had just finished a breakup.
This is a documentary on... Yeah, great documentary. I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, and I'm in contact actually with Adam Gusso. Like,
wow.
Every once in a while he's like, "Oh, dude, that's really cool what you did." You know,
one of these guys lives in St. Petersburg, right?
Well, Satan died. He
was living in St. Petersburg.
Yeah, he was.
That's right.
Yeah. He's just crazy as shit. So Adam Gusso, and then from that, I heard about this guy named Jason Ritchie. And between the Super Unloader experience, which was that band from San Diego that kind of broke my like blues dreams and told me how silly it was, that made me feel like it was a very limited instrument because there's a lot of things I couldn't play that they were playing that I kept trying to play. I tried to make it sound like more like a saxophone than a harmonica. And I listened to a lot of sax players actually, like
crazy. You said
King Curtis is fucking like my hugest harmonica influence, but he's a fucking sax player. I play so many King Curtis riffs nobody even fucking knows. I'm ripping off King Curtis all the time. But Jason Ritchie was next level. And I found out that he was playing down at the Hurricane, which is this shithole in Marathon. And I wound up getting gigs there later on. And it's like, it's a shithole. And the band house that's Italian, you can play for 2 days. There's a band house. It's like the Green Parrot, like I told you, but like bad. And there's no windows. There's a steel door that closes. There's like a VCR, like I Love Lucy fucking tapes and shit like that in there.
You're in a
by
cave.
The dumpster. Yeah. But I went down there and I rented the fucking hotel next to it, and I got to know Jason. Now Jason was crazy as shit. He's been gay. He's been straight. He was a crackhead, and at the time he was really gay. And like the blues crowd is not really super open
friendly
to that kind of shit. But he didn't give a fuck. But he could play good enough that. And he would wear makeup or fucking fishnets when he would play sometimes too. But he was playing Little Walter songs and shit.
Yeah.
And I went down there and he fucking sat with me in my room the day after, in between shows, for like 5 hours. And I pressed my voice recorder and we fucking sat there and smoked cigarettes. He was on the sobriety kick at the time. And we drank Red Bulls and smoked cigarettes. And for 5 hours he just broke down crazy intervals on the harp, what to do, shit like that.
Oh, man.
He has, if anybody was interested in playing harmonica, he has a million YouTube fucking instructional things. RICCI, Jason Ritchie, and we became friends.
I said the other night when I was interviewing Theo, I said that first time that Theo met me, I was wearing the harmonica rack, and he was like, "What the hell is that?" And I said, it didn't surprise me being in Miami because most of the guys that play on the rack, I know a good amount of them, you know. But there's probably plenty that I don't know. But you were talking about the similarities between the saxophone and the harmonica. When I met John Cafferty, I don't know if you know John Cafferty in the Beaver Brown Band, but I met John after a show, and I told him that I play his Tender Years in my set sometimes, and I mimicked my harmonica playing based off of Tunes, who's their saxophone player. I based it completely off of that. That's when I was first learning. I was like, I'm just going to play the harmonica as close to what Tunes is doing as I can, so that was really an early influence. We're here on the Local Sounds podcast with the great Uncle Scotchy. Now we're going to play some songs from him and his band Juke. This song is called Mile High Freak. You can check it out on Spotify and on the streaming services. Enjoy.
If I could fly instead of run. Maybe I wouldn't regret this thing I become. With the sun on my wings, in the light of day, I could look down at all the mistakes I made. You say that life is short, you say that love is sweet. I see myself still dancing alone on my broken feet. I never thought I was different. I heard it was bad to be alone. Even a fool can't be judged by the sky. I want the wind lift up and dry my crying eyes. Mama, she's gone. Yeah, I couldn't say goodbye. Her body was her own jail, man. I promised to set her free. I guess I lied. Thought I'd hear the bell when the call came down. Thought I'd know the difference when the devil came to town. Cleaned my wounds from the daggers of life. Slept with my loneliness and I made her my wife. If I was a bird, I know I'd wear out my wings. Just trying to stay off the ground and the dirt life brings. Yeah, if I was a bird, I'd hold extra feathers in my beak. Never have to come down, man, till I found that salvation that I seek. I never thought I was different. I heard it was bad. Yeah, bad to be alone. Even a fool can't be judged by the sky. Wanna feel that breeze kiss off my west soul. If I glare at you, please don't pay me no mind. My face ain't nothing but a cage. I ain't thinking about you, I'm just doing my time. I'm sorry, that's the way I was made. Yeah, but if you look into my eyes and only see mud, it don't mean there's nobody there. But this song's for me and it ain't for you. You could die at my feet, man, I don't care. Look what happened to me. Look what happens on the ground. Yeah, look what happened to me. See what I become. See what I become. Yeah, Lord, what you left behind. Oh, off the ground and the dirt life brings. Yeah, if I was a bird, I'd hold extra feathers in my beak. Yes, I would. I'd never have to come down, man. I'd be a mile high freak. Yes, I'd be a mile high freak. Oh Lord, I'd be a mile high freak.
We are back, the Local Sounds Podcast. That was Mile High Freak by Juke and Eric Garcia that's with us today. You guys can put that song on Spotify and the streaming platforms. I did look up this thing, Eric, while you were talking. I forgot to mention it, but I don't know how to pronounce his name. But you were talking about the Sesame Street harmonica player is Toots Thielmans.
Oh shit!
I don't know if
really?
I'm saying that right.
That was him? Yeah, no, that's how you say
Toots
it. Yeah.
Thielmans, the jazz harmonica virtuoso, perhaps best known for his general audience for his iconic theme music for Sesame Street.
That was really wow. Because Toots usually plays the chromatic, and that's diatonic harmonica he's playing on Sesame Street, which means 10 holes, and diatonic dia is 10, and that's the standard harp that I play. But the chromatic is what Toots is known for, playing jazz harp. Actually, I've seen him play at Van Dyke, and the
Died in 2016 at the age of 94. Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, what a legend. What a legend. But I was curious when you said that, what his name was. Once again, we're here with Uncle Scotchy, Eric Garcia. Make sure you guys check him out. It's Uncle Scotchy on Instagram, just Uncle Scotchy, right?
Yeah, at Uncle Scotchy, yeah.
At Uncle Scotchy. Make sure that you check him out. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was when you think about, you talked about California, you talked about your history in Florida. Do you think about the places that music has taken you, that you may necessarily would not have gone without music? You know, you talked about touring with Juke, you know, and being out in California, back in Florida. Have you thought about how music has taken you to all these different places?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, it's definitely changed my life a lot. As much as like my father never thought it was a serious thing, but I mean, the relationships I have between the booking and people from all over, and like, yeah, where we played, like I was telling you about us opening up for Gary Clark Jr., and then there was a festival that we used to played it 6 out of 7 years straight. We're really fortunate to play the Wani Festival up at the Spirit of Swanee Music Park.
I've driven past it a few times on the highway, I think.
It's a Lake City. It's
Yeah.
kind of near, outside of Gainesville.
It's always the way I take to get to Alabama. You know?
It's like the Walmart is a special place there.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, right
Lake
by
City,
there.
that sounds about right.
But it's like a 500-acre park on the Swanee River, and that's where they have Wani, and we got to play Halloween. Halloween's a monster. Fucking 30,000 people there in this park, and just playing these big, huge festivals there for large groups of people. I think we must have played festivals there, I don't know, 12 to 15 times. And just that park, playing those festivals was amazing. Opening up for the Revivalists, opening up, and then we had a really good relationship with fucking a guy that I grew up really loving and enjoying his music, G-Love.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about how that relationship came to be.
What happened was the owner of Blackbird Ordinary also owns Pretty Lounge, or just closed down. And he was friends with G-Love. And G-Love would come during Art Basel, which is a big, huge thing in Miami in the first weekend of December. It was before COVID. It's not only art, but I mean, you'll get like
Great music.
Macy Gray playing in like a little fucking 75 cap place, and things like that. It's that kind of, everyone's showing off the biggest artists you can get in the smallest place. And G-Love was brought in to play acoustic. Basically, he needed a band to open, and then he would play an acoustic set, and then he needed a band to back him because it was
Sweet.
just him.
Yeah.
So we did that like probably 5 years in a row. And he's really cool because I mean his harmonica style is a lot different than me. He's very traditional, but him and I really hit it off, and us playing with him was just kind of huge for us. And then I went on. I used to as a promoter. I put on a lot of pre-cruise events. So there's a lot of cruise ships that go out with certain genre. There's the Kiss Cruise.
Yeah.
So like Kiss and Kiss bands.
Specialized.
Kid Rock Cruise, all that stuff. And there would be like 30 bands that are kind of like under that guise. And I'm tied in with them before, once again, COVID happened and that whole thing shut down. And around this time of year, the season, I would put on pre-cruise parties. And because everybody's here already, and I would get some people from the cruises to play. And then I used to do a lot of pre-cruise parties for the Jam Cruise, which is just like fucking G-Love, Robert Randolph, fucking Soul Live, and a lot bigger bands than that. And I got to go. Actually, the week that Fish came and played 4 nights in a row at the American Airlines Arena, where the Heat play.
Yeah.
I was booking Will Call, which is right across the street, and doing after shows there, and then Railroad Blues, which is also right down the street. And then I was exhausted from those 4 days, and they're like, "Hey, a suite opened up on Jam Cruise. Do you want your own suite?" And I had just been through a bad breakup, and I'm just like, "Fuck it."
Perfect timing.
I get on there, I'm just overwhelmed because there's just stages. I mean, it was like a huge festival at sea. On the main deck had a big, huge stage. The ballroom, there was different bands going on and stuff like that. You're talking about 40, 50 fucking bands, Dumps of Funk, bands from, the Neville Brothers, all this shit. And you don't have phone service there at the time, especially.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anybody. I was overwhelmed. And I ran into fucking Garrett, G-Love. And he's like, "Hey, man, we come fucking sit in with us on the main stage."
This story just
and
gets
he had
better.
the main slot. And I sat in. There's a girl named Kelly Halloran that I got to be really good friends with because that's like when he plays these shows, he brings her. She's just amazing fucking fiddle player, violin player. Kelly Halloran is this shit. Her and I really hit it off. And she was playing, she was on that shit, and she had, G-Love had Eric Crasso from Soul Live and Lettuce sitting with him, Luther and Cody Dickinson from North Mississippi All-Stars, Robert Randolph, Roosevelt Collier, people like that, and then me. They bring my fucking ass out, and I do fucking Can't Go Back to Jersey for a fucking full ship, and I didn't know anybody. And so I fucking go up there and I brought it with fucking G. And after that, man, hanging out on that fucking boat, that's something Music Net would have brought me because everyone's like, I'm in the line in the cafeteria. Oh, there's a fucking G-Love guy. Yeah. And everybody wanted to hang out and give me drugs and fucking be cool.
Man, a cruise of musicians is asking for trouble.
Well, that's what's really cool about those cruises because you could be like, hanging out and digging all these musicians and then you could be in the cafeteria line getting your little pizza or whatever. And, your favorite musician is right there.
Yeah.
Government Mule, Warren Haynes is right there fucking getting, making a salad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It shows how normal that everybody is.
That's what's great about those Festival at Sea cruises. I mean, I'm looking forward to when those things come back because those are special.
I was actually thinking I went on a cruise with my girl in January, right before COVID happened. I talked to this guy that was playing music, and it was like a folk night, but he wasn't playing folk music, and I was thinking to myself, man, this is something I could do, maybe being on the road for 3 months, or on the sea for 3 months, it would be difficult to leave somebody behind for that amount of time, but man, it'd be a great experience to play for, that type of crowd, night in and night out. One of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about was with you being, like I said, I consider you a legend of the scene. You have the history, and you put in the time, dealt with the punches to get to where you are now. Where do you see the scene? Obviously, COVID has put a dampen on everything, but where do you see the scene, right before COVID happened or where it's at now, where compared to the amount of time that you've had? You know, I know that you meet young performers all the time, whether it's musicians or comedians. Where do you see it at now?
I'd like to be positive about it. I've done this for a while. One of my last booking jobs was a job that I was ill-fitted for, admittedly. It was before, what's her name? At Las Rosas. Jesus Christ.
The lady that runs Las Rosas, yeah.
Anyway.
I can picture her right now.
She's a good friend of mine, too. Anyway, before she had her job, I booked Las Rosas for a few months, and I realized I was kind of out of place there. That was a different movement from what I'm used to. I'm used to, like, just not being pretentious, but high-level talent.
Yeah.
And then bringing in more national acts, and then just bands like Electric Kiff. They're ridiculous. Two of the guys used to be in Jute. There's a lot of ridiculous. The musicianship in Miami is, if you really look at it, the people that have been here and have been done it for a while, it's way better than the scene. Not, I wouldn't say deserves, but you know, calls for, as monetarily, and so it's cool to see the scene in Las Rosas and places like that bring people. I think people are getting used to shitter music, and people, you know, if you know, a lot of these people, I look at them, these fucking bands I had to deal with Las Rosas. Some of them were good, some of them were great, some of them were nice, but a lot of them had fucking, it's cats and dogs fighting in the background. By the way,
I was wondering where that was.
They're fighting for turf. This is a turf war. Look at that turf war right there. I want this fucking.
Yeah, I see it. It's great.
Yeah, dogs, a pit bull and a cat fighting for.
The dogs don't make any noise that you can hear the hissing though. But you were talking
Case,
about.
come here, baby.
You were talking about accepting less of a talent.
Yeah, and it's more about. I mean, like a lot of these people. I'm just to be straight. If you fucking spend as much time, get down. If you spend as much time fucking learning scales than you did getting dressed up and working on your marketing fucking shit, then maybe all right.
Yeah.
So I mean, it just really dated me. It made me feel kind of, because I've been doing this for a fucking long time, and I'm not gonna deal with bullshit from fucking shitty bands that, you know, right now everybody loves and they're kissing their ass. But is
there any bands or artists that you think of off the top of your head that you have seen or ran into on the scene or on a bill or saw them play that stick out in your head as somebody that is not with that, you know, that norm?
I mean, I got to be kind of loyal to bands like Electric Kiff and things like that, Oigo and stuff like that. Everything, to be honest, right now is a bit at a stalemate. There's been nothing really inspiring that I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
I do really admire Electric Kiff's and Roosevelt Collier. He does no longer live in Miami, but he's Miami-based, playing what they call, it's pedal steel, but his style is called sacred steel. And he's been able to work with Snarky Puppy and bands like that, and really, really progressed. It's funny because I'll book him in Miami like he's a local act, and people show up like he's a local act, but he's a national act. He'll play in Denver or, you know, Red Rocks or whatever, and he's a big fucking deal. Yeah. But in Miami, nobody knows.
Well, a lot of the times it takes a while to get, you know, the local scene to take you serious. I felt that most of the time that I gained any sort of ground in Miami, it was after coming back from a tour in New Jersey or Alabama or Indiana or somewhere like that. People were more interested in what I was doing. We're here with Uncle Scotchy on the Local Sounds podcast.
Yep.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, brother, before we play another song of Jukes, was about the night that you have Wednesday night at Bar Nancy, the Uncle Scotchy storytelling extravaganza. It's been one of the only things here in Miami that folks can go out and feel a sense of normalcy after so much time in quarantine and dealing with the crazy year that we've dealt with. You talked about the origin of that, but one of the things I want to ask you is now looking at, you have about 3 months under your belt, I would say, and you're moving things into a podcast. You've had comedians, musicians, storytellers, all different types of walk of life come in and do this night. What is the night done as far as the way that you look at it as the impact it's had on the community, had on the people that come to it and the people that come just to hang out?
Well, other than making me wear pants once a week, which I'm happy about.
Yes. Get you out of the house.
Yes. It's been amazing, the reception. People are looking at me and talking to me like I made this shit up. And like storytelling has been happening for centuries.
Yeah.
And the ultimate compliment was a bar owner. He owns 9 bars around town that I used to work for. We used to butt heads a lot. But, and he was telling me straight up things. And that's what I appreciated about him. And he owns a venue in North Beach. And he asked my permission to do a storytelling night. And I was
Great tip of the hat, man.
Yeah, and I was like, you know, people have been telling stories forever, like I said, but just don't do it on my fucking night.
Yeah, don't steal my audience, please.
I appreciate it, but just don't do it on Wednesday. But that was kind of cool, and I don't know. I just think people just need it, and the weird thing is, you would think it would be because of COVID and nobody can talk or do anything like that, but I really see this once, you know, things get back to normal. I really see it getting a lot bigger. I think there's a lot of people that aren't coming because of COVID, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And that's why the podcast just came out and it's already doing pretty well. But I have a plan for 3 basic platforms. It's now that I'm finally recording these secret Uncle Scotchy songs that I've got 30 or 40 songs that I told you I'm going to start recording. And then the Storytelling Network. And then the third thing is going to be when I'm building up to do a one-man show, which is basically me telling a few stories about my life, multiple stories about my life, and backing it up with lighting cues, music cues, and me playing those songs relating to those stories live. I want to be able to say that the best thing that ever fucking happened to me was fucking COVID.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't have had the time, or this takes a lot of time to put together, and intent and something clear in my life. Because before I was just going, booking, do whatever I could.
Me too.
Working at the Hard Rock, booking as many bands as I could with Juke, and now I'm just sitting here with my dog, and
trying to figure out what to do.
And yeah, you know, it's
you have such a wide catalog too. You know?
Adapt or die.
Yeah.
And this has been something that I didn't know was going to be my strength, because I hated talking on the microphone. I hated speaking to the crowd when I would play. And for me to actually tell stories about horrible things and funny things that have happened to me. And one thing I've realized lately, kind of hit me. I told a story about my mother's Alzheimer's. Were you there that night?
A few weeks ago, or
you would remember.
I think I've only missed like one show since I came for the first time. It could have been
because it was a 29-minute story.
Okay,
and
yeah.
I made everybody laugh, and then I ripped everybody's fucking heart out. The bar owner was crying, the bartender was crying, the cocktail waitress, everybody cried. And I'm like, wow, I enjoy ripping everybody's fucking heart out.
Yeah.
And that's what I was like, this is fucking thing.
Yeah, when you told me about the night when we were talking early on, maybe the second or third week, you were saying no guitar. And I was like, I wanted to be a part of it either way, but it did feel a sense of nakedness to get out there without your comfortable tool, you know?
Yeah, just playing something in front of you, you know? Or the one thing I've also learned is, you know, playing with a band, your mind can drift when you're playing. You can get an automatic pilot. You play for a long time. You're playing a solo, or somebody else is soloing, or whatever like that. But if you lose engagement when you're speaking to a crowd,
you can feel it, you know?
Yeah, they're going to slip.
Yeah.
And that's a weird discipline I never had before. I can't even practice at my house. I sit here and I talk to my dog Casey. I tell a story. I have a microphone and I practice these songs. And then she falls asleep. I get offended, you know.
yeah, you weren't exciting enough to keep her going. You gotta step it up.
Fuck.
You gotta step it up, dude.
I can't entertain a pit bull. What?
We got Uncle Scotchy here. We're gonna play another song from Jukes right now, and then we're gonna come back and talk a little bit about the album. And we're just lucky to have Eric with us today. So make sure you check out Jukes music. Make sure you check out Uncle Scotchy. A lot of great things going on, and they've had the honor of opening for people like Gary Clark Jr. And you were talking about Mr. Clinton earlier. You opened for George Clinton, right?
No. I put on a show with George.
Put on a show with George.
The first time Fishbone and George Clinton ever played together. I put that together in San Diego. We opened up for the Revivalists. We opened up for Mofro. We opened up for
For G Love a couple times. We talked about G Love.
We paired up with G Love. We're like partners with G Love.
Yeah.
We're his band when he comes to Miami.
That's just fucking great. We were talking about the story of me running into him. And Gary Clark, so make sure you guys check out what Juke is doing and Uncle Scotchy. Here's another song from Juke. Make sure you check him out, give him a follow, and enjoy.
Stay right there. We just want your soul. We don't care what you wear. Don't mind your hair. You just stay right there. We just want your soul. Come on. We just want your soul. 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 The time, hope that you don't mind. A good song is hard to find. We just want your soul. We got all kinds of time. Hope that you don't mind. A good song is hard to find, yeah. We just want your soul. Come on. We just want your soul. 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 That's right. We just want your soul. We just want your soul. We just want your soul, baby. We just want your soul. Don't care where you came from. Damn it, skills are fine too. Oh, what a good deal. You weren't using it anyhow. Don't worry, you won't miss it much. Yeah. You can leave it at the door. You've been saving up all your life. Now it's mine. Yeah, it's mine. Yep. Hello, yeah. We just want your soul. The forest loves the trees. We just want your soul. Oh, the ocean loves the breeze. We just want your soul. Oh, the devil don't say please now. We just want your soul. Come on. We just want your soul. We just want your soul every day. We just want your soul. We just want your soul. What I say? We just want your soul. 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 What you got, Sonny? What you got, Sonny? Yeah.
Sounds podcast. That was some music by Juke. Make sure you check out what they're doing. Check out Uncle Scotchy. We already talked about Wednesday nights at Bar Nancy and Kaya Ocho on 8th Street. Check out the Uncle Scotchy Storytelling Extravaganza. I can tell you this, you never know what the fuck you're going to get on that night. That's what's so cool about it. I've been lucky that I tried to send you some comedians and other artists that I know that could hold it down. Sergio was great last night.
Yeah.
Theo has been great. John was up there. Ryan did a great job. I didn't know how Ryan was going to do, but he did a good job.
I didn't think he was going to talk about strip clubs.
No. We had. What's cool about your show is after the stories, whenever we're talking outside, some of the best stories of the night come from.
Yeah, stories are a bit infectious. Yeah,
they're flying around.
You look around and people are in like these little corners telling stories. Stories breed stories.
Yeah, if somebody could mic up everybody that's outside, you'd get a whole new set of stories. But I think it makes people feel more comfortable to dive into that well that they have. I sent Eric some of the music from the album, and like I said, a lot of the harmonica, stuff that I've got. I mean, I try to play basic folk harmonica to accent the song, but you do so much soloing and other stuff like that. And I'll use this as my little fan moment, even though we're friends, is that, seeing you and seeing Bruno play the harmonica, and even Mullins. And I saw Mullins the other night with the band at Bar Nancy, and he is just, he was always, a great player to me, but just seeing them the other night with Giacomo and with everybody, just incredible. He's improved on his harmonica skills even more than where they were at. But I took from all of you guys on just trying to advance at the harmonica for sure. But we're going to do some talking about the record now. At Night in the Dark comes out January 1st. We got 3 singles out right now. Tonight we played The Devils Are Here. On this podcast you've heard Cold in July, the new single with Ryan B. And my good friend, the beautiful Nay Rose on the violin. And the second single, Gone, you can get now on all the streaming platforms. And we have a music video for The Devils Here. I sent all this stuff over to Eric, and Eric's going to talk to me a little bit about it. So,
all right, so The Devil's in Here.
Yeah.
That would grab me the most, just because I like your cadence during it. Was very leading back to the G-Love kind of thing. It was a bit of a rap blues thing,
Yeah.
which I appreciated your attack on that a lot. Tell me a little bit more what that's about.
Well, I recorded the song. I had lived in Miami for a short amount of time, and I was still working with my former producer, who I made the last record with, Golden Age Syndrome. And he lives in Bonita Springs, Florida, so I had to drive across the alley to get there. And I had seen Mullins in the band and the Mojo Hands at Lincoln's Beard, and they were great. They had just started playing some new covers, and I think it was "Who Do You Love" is what they played that night. That really
He
stuck
does a good
with me.
version of that.
And they moved on to do some great other versions of songs like Wooly Bully and other things. But I went home that night and I was thinking, you know what, I have a history in storytelling hip-hop music, jazz basically influenced hip-hop stuff, Stan Getz samples and things like that, Miles Davis. And so that's always where my writing head goes first. I had to steer it more away from that if I want to do something that's more singing-oriented. And so I was like, I want to write a blues song. After all this blues music, the influence, it really filled up a lot. And it's like, okay, now it's time to do something with it. So started, I wrote the song for some reason. I still don't know why, but a couple songs came out of that, formula, was writing the songs with the capo on the first fret, just to hear,
I noticed that.
Different things. And so I
Is that just better for your tone, your voice was
I
better,
don't know if I was. I don't know
half
if I
step
was.
up?
Yeah, I don't know if I was thinking about that. I don't even know if I knew that those rules applied to what I was doing. I was
Why
just
would you put the capo there?
trying to hear something different, I guess.
Okay.
And I was still figuring out, transposition. And so I started just playing this E, which was an F. I learned I didn't even know that at that point. And just tried to say to myself, how can I make basic, guitar moves and make the most out of it? Yeah. So I just started messing around with those 3 chords, and I was like, as much as my mind was telling me maybe to go to other places, I was going to stick to that medium. And that first line that I had about when the lights go out and the fire falls, we are not alone. The dark clouds struck us down in the middle of the storm, the black dog moans. I was thinking about, I was already involved with Churchill, and Churchill talking about the black dog that would follow him around. which became a song of its own that's on the new record called Black Dog. And so I was already thinking about, I was dealing with my own mental health issues really for the first time, and thinking about that concept, about the image came to my mind about my dad locking the doors at night, and but I couldn't figure out, and still trying to figure out how to deal with those dark things in my head. So the song actually came pretty fast. It was just a progression of that, and I knew that I had that chorus that came pretty easily about the sinners aren't in hell because the devils are here. That idea that the devil doesn't walk around with a pitchfork and horns out of his head. If the devil, for those that believe in that or don't, if the devil does exist, then it's in a spirit
Well, that
form.
doesn't have to be a devil. It's symbolic of that mode of
negative
thought.
energy sometimes.
Yeah, that energy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking to myself more and more about how do I lock those things out from my life. So I think that song is just, I don't think you're ever, like I said in the beginning, I don't think you're ever thinking about what these songs mean when you're writing them, but I believe that they kind of tell you what they mean afterwards. So I think I've learned more and more that song is about me trying to figure out how to lock the demons and the dark energy out of my life.
It's a bit ambiguous, so let's talk a little about more about your mental health issues.
Yeah, I guess, it's the album's called A Night in the Dark because that's when things come up for me. I think that I start getting in phases of mindset to where my girl
Something you
falls
battled
asleep.
from an early age, or
Yeah, I think that I think the farthest I can stem it back was I spent up until 16 or 17 years old in that early form of trying to be accepted by folks, instead of understanding like I understand now that I just am who I am, and different strokes for different folks. If someone fucks with you, they do. If they don't, they don't. But at that time, you're young, your mind is trying to figure things out, and I think I was so discouraged and beaten down from things in my youth that maybe weren't supposed to mean anything but meant a shit ton, about being accepted and having the girl that you like you, and having the friends that you want to be friends with. So I think that kind of defined, my early on things of saying that, I think I told my mom when I was in 8th grade that I was never suicidal at that time, but I definitely felt like I didn't belong, didn't exist, born in a different time that I wasn't supposed to be born in. So I think everything kind of stemmed from there, probably.
I think everybody feels that at that age. What made that worse for you?
I think that because I felt like at the time I needed it more than I needed anything else, and because really that's all, the world is your little, going to school or playing extracurricular sports, that's your world. It's not as big and introspective as it is as you get older, I don't think. So
You think possibly you were more like sensitive at the time?
Probably.
In a place and time that sensitive is not.
Yeah, I think that when I look back on it, that the culture was changing. My mom definitely was the emotional one between my mom and my parents. My dad was more emotional. My dad was emotional, but probably kept it under wraps more when I was younger. But my mom, she was really, that hey, people are good, life is good. You're gonna meet a perfect girl, and she's gonna be great for you. All hopes that I'm sure the people put on their children.
And then you have kids and you're going to die. Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but then what happens is that you realize that life is not all like that. There's there's the dark things, and I think that my mom really did a good job of saying, oh, my kid, like every mother thinks my kid is great, and everyone's going to accept my kid, and life's going to be all well and dandy. But things turned out that way in some respects, but in a lot of respects it was, at that time in my life, it was very
I was like that a lot too at that time. I was more. That's why I wanted to be a lit major. Wow.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to be a lit major. I was a writer before music, so that's
Me too. I think a lot of that came from that too. Was like early creativity and inspiration. I was, I played on sports teams and stuff, but I was always like, moving back to film and writing and stuff like that. So I think that the more they say, you were talking about your relationship with your dad and music earlier, and I think that I heard Springsteen say in an interview, he was talking about a conversation with Bono, and he says that if you're trying to find the makeup of what you're doing, and you had a great relationship with your parents, then you're probably not meant to be a musician at all. So I think that was an impending factor as well, was that my dad came from a time to where the man's the man, and I was learning from my mom as well about emotion and wearing your emotion on your sleeve. So I think those two worlds kind of collided, both necessary, but both maybe don't gel together as well. So.
All right. Let's look at some words.
Eric actually took the time to print the words out. This is
I pressed the button.
This is not. I wanted
pressed the button.
I wanted pinned on the wall in here after this is over with.
Cold in July. I like the concept, and I felt like a lot of it was. I wasn't sure without context. A little bit more ambiguous. Tell me kind of what was going on with Cold in July.
That title, I saw a book in a thrift store, which kind of has happened a couple times now. All of it happens. I don't know how your process is, but it happens when you least expect it. And I'm a frequent, almost sometimes obsessive visitor to the thrift stores, whether it's in Miami or whatever town I'm touring in. And I was walking through a thrift store in Alabama, the same store actually where I saw this book. I actually bought the book, Nowhere Fast, which I wrote my song Unlock the Chain on my last record.
How much is the book, $1?
Yeah, it was like $1 or something like that, and maybe less. I have a discount card. That's how I'm a real thrifting guy. So I had the discount card. Might have been less, but probably somewhere around $1. But I saw this Nowhere Fast book, wrote Unlock the Chain from reading the book. It was about a kid from Indiana with nothing to do, so all they do is get in trouble, and that really, being from Indiana, struck ties with me. But then a couple years later, which was probably about 4 or 5 months ago, I was visiting my family in Alabama, and I saw this book, and at the same thrift store, it said Cold in July on it. And I was like, oh, what a great title. And so I held on to it, made sure that I didn't, read the book or watch the movie. I wanted to be something.
It's funny how a couple words together
set you off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was definitely set off, and I've been listening the last couple of years to my good friend Bobby Mahoney's music, and some of his slower songs. They're a great rock band, Bobby Mahoney and the Seven Son. We talked about it on the podcast plenty of times, and he had a song called Black and Miles that I was listening to, was inspiring me, and these things kind of crossed at the same time. So I was picking along one day and came up with it, and I had the beginning chord for the arrangement, and I had the ending chord, but I had nothing in between. And spent some time trying to figure that out, and got some help from my good friend Lucas Jolton. He's like, here's a chord that you might be able to use. I don't know where you can use it at. Maybe you don't want to use it all, but here's something I hear on it. And I ended up using that. I think it was an F sharp minor or something like that. But when I hit the E at the end, before I go back to the picking sequence on the A, I was saying, it's so cold in July. I was like, oh, that's it. It's right there.
And it fit.
And it fit. And then I just wrote kind of the song all around having one line of a chorus. So it kind of all came from there. But when I listen to it back, I think that it's telling me about, I've always wondered, how do you get closure? How do you create closure on your own when you can't get closures from others? And that's kind of, I think, with the song, because there's a line in it that, for me, kind of defines the whole thing, is we may never make it back, and I'm all right with that. Like I've accepted.
So that was it's a closure song.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. So
I didn't know closure was a thing till a few years ago, and I wrote about that as well. I have a song called "The Truth," and it's like kind of my favorite song. I haven't recorded it yet, but yeah.
I'm so excited to hear the new music, man. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's about closure, and you feel like you lose value sometimes when things don't work out. And that's kind of what closure is, keeping your value. And that's what's important about songs like that, because, you lose your identity, you lose your value. So,
Yeah, something that musician, I know, Alexa Lass, she said, if it wasn't for heartbreak, what the hell would I have to write about? And I feel that way a lot. I feel like that, her saying that, I feel like I'm still writing songs about times way before me.
Yeah, I love Alexa, and that's an amateurish statement.
Okay.
It is.
Teach me, show me the way.
Well, I don't, especially female musicians. And once again, I will preface this with I do love Alexa, and I respect her a lot, and that's a valid quote, actually. But
You can't be sad forever.
There's a lot of female, especially female musicians. Look, I was raised a feminist. My mother fucking dragged me to Now fucking marches when I was a kid with her lesbian friends. Now National Organization of Women, and I was raised a feminist. So I kind of don't like when females play that female chord about that, and every one of their songs is about heartbreak. You need to be able to offer something else.
Yeah, and
I think talk about a goddamn fucking, American Beauty fucking bag blowing around.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that I thought about this album very hard because it's like I don't want to make a record that is like some other songs that I've made. Always You, Unlock the Chain. I love those songs, but they were for a time, and now I want to show growth in everything that I do. So I think that Cold in July was really about saying basically that, hey, you know what, even on warm days you can still feel cold, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be cold forever. Things as you grow up and times change. I have a great relationship now, and everything led me to here, and I wouldn't want to be any place else.
I think just the acknowledgement that it could be you can make me cold in July shows the effect that you're having on you.
Yeah, and I'm almost ashamed sometimes that I've let that effect from other folks happen on me, but really when you look at it, it's you're letting it happen to yourself for sure. So I think that being able to say in a song and actually believe it and know that it's how you really feel, that I'm all right, and I think at the end I say, and when you see in the rear view that it wasn't a lie. That even looking back now, that regardless of what happened, good or bad, and the place that it ended up, a relationship fractured, that you can at least look back and know that everything was real. And that I think that now in retrospect means a lot to me. That at least I hope that I was real the whole time. So
I'm looking forward to the follow up, Warm in December.
Well, I released the song. On December 1st, and that was like the coldest day in Miami so far. And my buddy was coming over for the podcast, Jack Norris, that we had on in the last episode, and he said to me, you fucking cursed us, man. He says, you put out a song about it being cold in July, and now it's fucking cold in December. So, yeah, that was perfect timing.
Warm in December is going to be a fucking hit, dude. It's going to crash.
No, maybe we can co-write it. We got to have a co-write at some
my
point.
Christmas tree is sweating.
I won't play harmonica. I'll let you play.
A sweaty Christmas tree.
Yeah. Somebody told me, somebody else messaged me. I love these type of messages. Someone said, just so you know, it's never cold in July in Miami. Where have you been living at?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love seeing messages like that. Someone just totally trumped me on my card.
So the other song,
Gone?
Yes.
Yeah.
You started bumming cigarettes from an old Cuban man.
Yes.
I kind of feel you should go back and to give some more like domino references or something in that.
Yeah. There's later references to cigarettes and wine in the second verse, but there should be more. That was my Miami attempt, folk writer Miami attempt.
Yeah, you started with the whole the 8th Street thing.
Yep. 8th
Throw
Street
a
and
domino in there or
122nd.
something. So
there's a fresco. You probably know Miami well enough. I can explain this to you. There's on 122nd and 8th. There's a fresco Imas, and next to it there's a little Cuban. There's a liquor store and then a Cuban coffee cafe.
Yeah.
And it's really
open
like
late.
hole in the wall, open late. And I would go in the liquor store there, and I would come out, and there would be a guy there that I'd bum cigarettes off of. Usually the same guy, or maybe a different guy, but usually the same guy. And he had these strong Spanish cigarettes that are just really, really strong. And I walked away from him one day, and I was like, "Oh, that's a line for a song." I was actually the music I was thinking about. I heard Ben Motes play a lot, a great friend of mine, and he said he was playing. Maybe it's time to let the old ways die from A Star Is Born, the Jason Isbell song. And I was like, man, there's something. I still to this day haven't seen the movie, but I was like, that's a great song. And Jason Isbell, Sturgill Simpson, Chris Stapleton, the Americana guys, we've listened to their music a lot the last couple of years. But I was thinking about that song, and I wrote that line down, and kind of the progression came from there. But yeah, it was definitely my most Miami line so far. And my neighbor next door is a Cuban guy. My girl's Cuban, and his brother comes over, smokes Marlboro Reds, and I'll walk outside and he'll shake the pack of me. You want one of these?
Yeah.
Come and get one. So I smoked with him several times. A lot of great conversations come out of cigarettes.
So what's the rest of it about?
Wanting, it's funny, I wrote this before COVID, but wanting to leave and having to stay. That's really what it's about. And it came, I think I wrote it a month before COVID. COVID happened, and then I recorded it in April, right around my birthday. And it's basically about realizing, like, as you become a man more, and I have these responsibilities around me. You're not just by yourself anymore. You got your girl, you got your dogs, and got my own little family now that I'm responsible for.
Just go through the chorus with me, because the chorus is a little confusing.
Okay.
Go through the chorus.
This is great. Okay,
Yeah.
so you can't get with the going till the going is gone. You can't get with the time. If you can't get with the times, then they'll surely pass you by. You can't get with the going till the going is gone until it's gone until it's gone. So basically, that if you don't get, with the going, and it's gone, you're too late.
What's the going and it's gone?
Whatever's going, whatever's going. If you miss out on something or you drag your feet on something and it's already gone, there's no more going with it. So
then it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah, it's good.
Is that bad?
Am I so confused? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's an opportunity that you shouldn't have got on board with, or maybe it's something like, damn, you know what, I should have done that.
That was the one thing that confused me about the port. I'm like, is that good, or do you want to leave the
I try to leave it open for interpretation a little
All
bit,
right.
That's why sometimes when I try to define the songs, when I was like, you're ruining it. Like, I thought it meant this, and now I'm never going to be able to think about what it means, So they say talk about music is like talk about sex. It's better when demonstrated.
No, it's kind of good, because that's really like the Black Keys formula. Their lyrics are very ambiguous in a way. They're good and they fit the music really well. Like, one song I love from them is fucking Little Black Submarines.
Yeah,
I don't know what the
I
fuck
actually
he's
know
talking
that
about.
song. Yeah,
It's a great song. It's one. And to be honest, I mean, I really was disappointed in the Black Keys for the mainstream direction that they went, but because I really appreciate, like, when their first stuff came out. I mean, they got a record deal before they even played a live show, and a couple kids from Ohio in a basement, and I'm like, oh, these are ambiguous lyrics. But then Little Black Submarines, that song reminded me of Little Black Submarines.
Yeah, it's really open. I try to. First of all, that's a big compliment. Thank you. But I try to leave it open for interpretation. I love one of my favorite lines. This album is. I'm very, very critical, and I finally have some lines on this album that I'm like, okay, that's a line that 30 years from now, hopefully, I feel like right now that I'll really like. When the going gets hard, girl, we gotta get up. We got to get up. And this year has been a lot about, I said it in the first episode, I said your songs kind of keep you in check, know. And that line reminds me that, hey, when the going gets hard, which has been this year for musicians more than any in my lifetime, and you got to get up. You got to get the fuck up,
Well, Hunter Thompson had a great quote. It's like, when the going gets weird, the weird turn pro.
Yeah. You were talking about if not for COVID, you wouldn't have stayed at home as much. Same as me. I would not have probably had the album ready by now. But I was going nuts. I did the podcast the first time.
Yeah, turn pro.
Just to have a connection to the music again. And then the podcast, was successful, and then started finishing on the album the last 5 or 6 months. And the time has flown by quicker than it would have because the recording process has been long and strenuous. But Yeah, I think that to write the song and then you have to listen back to it, you're like, shit. Like when you're thinking, like, I want to go, I don't care if I have to stay. When you're in those phrases that musicians, I'm sure, have been in plenty of times during COVID, then you think that, oh, damn, I have this song about how important it is to stay. So that the songs, if I do a good job, I feel like they keep me in check.
All right.
So, Well, that's the great Uncle Scotchy. I appreciate the thoughtful questions, man. Those are probably the most thoughtful questions that we've had so far. It made me really...
You like the reverse interviewing action?
I know. The transition was like, whoa. Eric hit me with a lot of stuff.
You don't get that a lot, right?
Yes. No. I interviewed a comedian. He just wanted to make me laugh or say something, have me say something that made him laugh, which is totally cool. It's nice to have all different sides of the spectrum. But this has been the Local Sounds Podcast. We've had the great Eric Garcia on here, Mr. Uncle Scotchy. Eric, thank you so much for giving me an hour and 20 minutes to talk to you, and I've learned plenty that I can take with me, and hopefully the folks out there can learn plenty. If you're picking up the harmonica or you're picking up the guitar, check out Juke and Uncle Scotchy's music. Find something that you can use to develop, what you're doing. Oh yeah, just like that. What more can you say, ladies and gentlemen? This is the Local Sounds Podcast. Join us in a couple days. We'll be interviewing Mr. Theodis Samuels, Mr. Goodnight. And if you're interested, funny man. If you're interested, and if you're a Miami musician or somebody from Fort Lauderdale close by, reach out to Eric about the Wednesday night show at Bar Nancy. The
at UncleScotchy.com.
Yes, UncleScotchy.com.
Actually, UncleScotchy.com is a website that just came out with storytelling. There's a link to the Spotify, and so
this is a great show. Wednesday night. I've been a frequenter. I think I only missed the day before Thanksgiving, and it's been an absolute amazing show.
We talk about everything but assisted suicide. Everything but assisted suicide we can talk about.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. You never know what you're gonna get, and it's just been an amazing thing for the city. So as an artist and somebody that just enjoys seeing live shows, thank you for that, man, because it's been really great. And
thanks for coming and supporting. I really appreciate it. Taylor's been just coming out, and just it's been really cool just to see the group of people that have come out to see the storytelling, and just coming in with a smile on their face. Everybody saying hi to each other, and Taylor just coming in, and it would be weird like if he didn't. And so it's been a really cool process that is giving me a release during these weird times. And so thank you, Taylor, for coming in and supporting and bringing Ryan and people like that with his stories about strip clubs. And
never saw it coming. Now I get to tell him that we talked about him so he can listen. But no, it's been my pleasure, man. It's been nice to get out of the house and know that if nothing else is going on in a week, which is a high possibility for artists this year, I know on Wednesday nights I can count on. I can come and hang out with my good friends, and I can meet some new people. And hopefully, you're always hoping that somebody sends you home with some inspiration, and that happens a lot on the night. Makes you want to write something, or makes you want to come up with your story yourself. I'm going to be on. Actually, this is going to air on Tuesday, so tomorrow night, if we're according to this show's time clock, I'll be performing on Eric's show at Bar Nancy, talking a little bit about the road and about musicianship, and hopefully something that'll send the folks home.
That's right, you're next week, right?
That's right.
You're next week.
That's right, yes, sir. I'm excited. So
I'm going to retell a story.
You're going to bring it back out. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I have a couple ideas, but I don't force it. It's going to come when it's going to come. So check out Uncle Scotchy, like I said multiple times in the podcast, but make sure that you do it. Give him a follow on Instagram. Check out the show. Check out the podcast and see what he's doing. We will be back soon with another interview. And make sure you guys go check out the singles from the album At Night in the Dark, coming out January 1st. We have The Devils Are Here that you heard tonight. Also Gone and Cold in July, the new single. And we look forward to giving you the album in just a little bit. So thank you guys. Have a good rest of your night.